The guaranteed tonnage figures in the local waste agreements have been there since 1998. And the 13 municipalities that signed in 98, those numbers, those tonnage figures were based on their historical tonnage figures, and those numbers were selected by the municipalities, not by Covanta, not by the UCUA. Those numbers were put into the agreements by the municipalities. And everyone understood at the time that that was a minimum, or what we call a put or pay amount of tonnage that has to be delivered. It was indicated accurately that the UCUA has never had to enforce under deliveries. What isn't mentioned is that historically, since '98, there have been any number of municipalities who over-delivered 125% of that number permissible by contract, and that the UCUA came up with a formula which allows the under-deliveries by some towns to offset over-deliveries by other towns. But some municipalities did end up paying a penalty to the UCUA for over-delivery of waste. And it was controversial, but it was done because the towns had negotiated for and picked the wrong numbers. Under the proposed agreement that we're entering into, we're proposing to put into place, the towns are able to revisit the tonnage figures in order to increase them every 5 years. The municipality that was referred to by Mr. Berry that joined late because they realized they'd made a mistake and were losing money with the disposal of their waste and the cost of doing so. That number in the contract, the local waste agreement, when they joined, was not blank. It was a number that they selected. It is not the expectation of the UCUA to have to penalize any municipality for failing to meet its put or pay obligation. The statement that was read with respect to the application to the state for approval, as well as the basis on which we're able to finance solid waste disposal debt, the provision is certainly there for the enforcement of a put or pay agreement. But historically that has never happened. And we believe that the projections that we're showing of 330,000 tons of Union County waste, 330,000 tons of Union County waste is the only obligation in the agreement. And anyone who has read all the documents will be able to tell you that should there be a shortfall on the delivery of that waste, that there's a mitigation obligation on the part of the operator of the facility to bring waste in so that there will be no shortfall payment required of the county.
The other thing is that the reason I asked for the gate price, because I heard through a reliable source that it was $45 to $50. Some New York City hauler comes in here and he pays $50 for it. And the UCUA has this obligation to provide 430,000 tons, 330 from within the county, but I can't see how they are going to get people signed up when Covanta is out there with a $50 price. And I wanted to confirm, nail down that $50 price, and he just wouldn't do it. That's the point I was going to make. So those two things make this deal idiotic. It shouldn't have never gone through. It's just there to protect Covanta's profits.
My law partner, Kevin Conklin, reminded me of the question, which I did not address, having to do with, will we enforce the minimum tonnage figures against the towns? We never have. Some of the towns, on occasion, delivered far more waste than is permitted by their contracts. And we were able to offset that penalty by the towns that delivered under. As best we could, but there were some municipalities who have in the past had to pay for going over their tonnage figure. We have never charged a municipality for going under. It's not to say that we wouldn't. A minimum tonnage guarantee is just that. It's the town agreeing to take this reduction in rates, to get it retroactive to January 1 of 2011, which nobody asked tonight, but that's what is provided for in the current petition and the agreement with Covanta. When we close this transaction, all the towns that have been paying the higher rate will either take a check for the difference times the amount of tonnage that they've delivered to date, or a credit against future deliveries. But it's a significant amount of money for every municipality that signs up. there is clearly the right on the part of the authority to charge member towns that don't meet their minimum tonnage with a penalty for having failed to do so. It's in the contract, it's never been enforced. Our experts, our economists, everyone who reviewed it, indicate that although it's a risk associated with this transaction, it's outweighed by those reductions and the tax savings that I keep